Boom. We're live. We're good, right?
We're good. We're good. Live on my end
Boom.
as well.
Bang. Okay. So we're looking extra crispy, right? Today the frame rate's cooking. Everything's good.
Yeah, it's looking better. Definitely looking better than last week.
We're live. Good. Beautiful. Perform some my keto real quick and see what happens. Good.
Yeah,
Am
good.
I
Didn't
is my
freeze.
cam is my camera flickering? Am I doing a bit of a flicker? Or is that just on my side?
It was a little delayed when the Aikido, but the Aikido might have just been so fast that it's impossible for 60 frames per second to pick that up anyway. So,
Right. When you move at the speed of light, it's difficult for the camera to pick it up. Well,
no,
ladies and
we're all
gentlemen,
good.
we're back. We're back for another episode of the Gentleman's Code. Myself, Priamo Persichetti, Bobby Neishman, the ultimate professional. And yeah, I mean, the episodes have just been getting more and more and more fantastic. So now, if we've got the camera and the audio down pat, it's over for the rest of the streamers. I show speed. What's the other guy?
Kai
I don't even know
Cenat,
him. Yeah,
the
guys,
little
it's
five
on
foot
his
five guy.
We're gonna come take over their empire. So, what's going on, Bobby? How you doing this morning, player?
What's going on, man? How's your week been? I know it's been a grind, hustling, but this is our time to kind of catch up, which I like. It's been I like how we're doing this because it gives us. I feel like after the weekend kind of sets in and the week starts, and then this is like a good time to catch up between me and you on world events before the weekend because some crazy shit always happens on the weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and then throughout the week we get to hustle and grind. So we get to talk about work on Thursday. We get to talk about current events. I think it's a perfect time to catch up with each other.
For sure. And that's the thing. I was thinking about this just this week too. Getting on here is actually a refresher because it's not something I'm like, oh, we got to go live stream. No, it's just
Yeah.
like we're having a normal conversation, except it's live as well. So it's no, I get excited for it. I'm going to get my quad shot in the morning. I know we're coming back. We're about to live stream. We're gonna give some fire. I'm in the car, pumping that new Drizzy. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, he's been banging. I think he's on him ever since that Kendrick Lamar beef. He's like, I gotta show everyone why I'm Drake. Why I'm the goat.
See, and that's a great point because I thought the same shit. I go, oh, he's putting out heat because he wants to let people know that number one, because one of his disses to Kendrick was that he's not putting out fire, he's not putting out consistent music. He's just been chilling, hiding away, not putting out albums. Drizzy cooked him in the beef, cooked him up, destroyed him. Then after the beef, starts dropping more bangers. It's like, yeah, I got more in the chamber. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. I haven't heard anything from Kendrick. Is he still around?
He dropped his one hit song for 3 years. And now he's like, I'm done. I diss Drake. Got his clout. I don't know
Yeah,
if you really looked into this though, but the 100 gigs that Drake's dropping, pretty much like all his videos and like behind the scenes footage from pretty much from when he started. He just had video camera rolling the whole time, which is sweet, and dropped it onto his website, 100 gigs. I think it's pretty cool.
heater. Interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that yet, but I gotta check it out. I like Drake. I think Drake probably just from longevity, and people are gonna be sick about this, but I would say Drake's top three rappers of all time,
For
just because
sure.
of his consistency over time. We talk about greatness as consistency over time. Well, whether you like him or not, he definitely puts out fantastic quality music for the past, what, 10, 15 years?
hmm And if you think about it from like a Tupac or Biggie standpoint, people say those two are the best, but you got to remember those guys died when they were like 27 years old. They only got to make music for like 5, 6 years, and then even the music that came out, a lot of their music, they were already dead. Like they recorded it, and then like they died, and then like their record labels just mastered the songs and put them out. So they really didn't even get to make that much music. Drake has like 11 studio albums now. I don't see him stopping anytime soon. So yeah, I agree with that too, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, the posthumous album drops. Pop Smoke dropped more albums after he died than he was when he was alive.
Yeah.
Right? That's crazy.
That's his
I
team
mean,
trying to catch a check off him.
right? Prolific rapper, but geez, how many more times can you reuse the same lyrics? So Okay, so I do have one important topic that I want to talk to you about that came out this past week, right? So I actually posted about this on my Instagram stories. You probably know where I'm going to go with this. So it is flickering the damn camera. What the hell? So did you see the article that was dropped from the New York Times from that goofball talking about the Constitution?
It's yeah. Is the Constitution a threat to democracy or something? I don't know what the exact quote was, but yeah, something along those lines.
You know what? I have it. I have it right here. Let's
Or
give
is
let's
it
give it its
is
due.
it is it dangerous or something like that?
Yeah, what fantastic terminology they use. Okay, so the title of the story is "The Constitution is Sacred." It's true. Is it also dangerous? Question mark. Okay. Is it dangerous? Right. This piece of paper. Okay. So classic, classic mindset. Let me be afraid of a document. Um, so people were losing their minds about this earlier in the week. So for those of you guys outside the United States, the Constitution is the founding document for the United States. So the Constitution is what the government's based off of. It also gives us our basic human rights, protects our human rights, etc. So it's a sacred document in the United States. And so an article came out from the New York Times talking about whether or not it could be a dangerous document. Okay, and a lot of people, rightfully so, were outraged by it. Why? Well, because how could it be dangerous? This is the most prominent, and I believe it is the oldest legal document standing in the world today that's still in use, still in
Wow.
force. Yeah, I heard about that statistic just recently. And so now people are trying to start to attack it. Why? Well, because they think Trump's going to win the election again. So all of a sudden, because Trump might win the election again, this is an anti-democratic document, which is actually one of the quotes inside of the article. So I'll actually read you the quote that they
Who
were
wrote
saying
that
just to give some
article?
context.
What was their
Just
name?
some Azra Raza
Dummy.
doesn't even sound American. So let's see here. So here's the article because I was reading it and I'm going to get into the point that I'm going to make about it. So in the article, this author was saying it's no surprise then that liberals charge Trump with being that he got elected in the first place and the prospect that he's probably going to beat Kamala again or beat Kamala. They said, but his presidency and the prospect of his reelection have also generated another very different argument. Okay. And the argument is that Trump owes his political assent to the Constitution. Sure, right? The Constitution is supposed to protect everybody's right to be able to run for office so that the people can choose and elect the person they want for the office, right?
Yeah.
So Trump owes his political assent to the Constitution, making him a beneficiary of a document that is essentially anti-democratic and, in this day and age, increasingly dysfunctional. Okay. So all of a sudden, after 250 years, however long the United States Constitution has been around, because Trump won presidency and might win it again, it's now anti-democratic document. Okay, because they didn't get what they wanted.
Craziness.
So here's the point I was going to make. So initially, I was outraged. Okay, because I thought to myself, well, this is them trying to continue to degrade the society and degrade the measures that we had put in place by our founding fathers to be able to protect our rights as humans, protect our rights as Americans, so that they can get the kind of control and the kind of power that they want. Okay, and I thought to myself, well, hold on a second. Let me give her the benefit of the doubt. Have I actually read the Constitution in the last week or two or in the last year? No, I haven't. I'm just being honest. Had I read it in high school and college? Yes, I've seen it. So I said to myself, before I comment on this article and before I get outraged or say anything, and not that I was just losing my mind over it, but let me actually go read the Constitution and see if anything that she's saying holds credence. Went and read it. Turns out it's definitely not anti-democratic. It actually is as fantastic as advertised. Okay. But this is what I want to mention to you. So the Constitution is essentially laying out the government structure for the United States. And in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. Why is it called the Bill of Rights? Because it's the rights that they give to us as human beings, the rights that we have that can't be taken away from us. And as I'm reading through the Constitution and all these amendments that had happened over the year, everything sounded fantastic. Everything was protecting human rights, protecting freedom of speech, protecting the right to bear arms, protecting all of our human rights to do all these important things. But all of a sudden, when I was reading those amendments, the tone had changed in one particular amendment. So in 1913, the 16th Amendment was made. Okay. This is when everything changed. This is when the tone of the Constitution changed. And I saw where the actual greed started to happen and where things started to turn against the American people. So every single thing in the Constitution and then every single amendment up until the 16th Amendment in 1913 had been put in place to protect the people of the United States, protect rights, give rights, all giving things, all important things. The 16th Amendment was the first one where they started taking things away from the people. And also in 1913 is whenever they made the amendment for prohibition to take away the ability to sell alcohol. So it started becoming ways to take things away from the people and power away from the people and prevent them from being able to do things. So the 16th Amendment is about being able to tax people essentially to no end, just however the government sees fit. And all of a sudden I read that and I said, oh, hold on a second. This tone has changed. First, it was all about giving rights, protecting people. And now it's about, oh, now we can tax you as much as we want to. Hold on a second. What happened here? Right? So what are your thoughts on that? Because I saw the tone shift, and now it makes sense how everything has progressed since 1913 to where it's just now taking more and more and more and more rights away from the people, not giving more rights to the people. When was the last time we got more rights?
1913, I guess, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Another thing that you made me think about when you were talking there is in those Bill of Rights, the first. Oh, there goes the phone. In the first, I believe it's in the Bill of Rights. The Constitution lays out the right to a fair trial, sets up a jury by one's own peers, so setting up the legal system for the people that when you do get in trouble and you do have to go to court, that everybody is treated fairly. It doesn't matter if you're Joe Schmo who makes $5 or if you're the acting president of the United States. Everybody is entitled to a fair trial by one's own peers and a non-biased judge. What we've seen from Democrats over the past year in New York State is that doesn't apply to them. They could just do whatever they want because you have people in the streets stabbing people, killing people, doing whatever they want, but they get patted on the back and kicked out the door of the jail in 2 or 3 days. But then when Donald Trump's team has an accounting error and they want to, I don't know what exactly happened, but from what I understand, it was they were accounting the funds that he paid to Stormy Daniels in a different asset class or expense than it was supposed to be. Fair. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. It's a misdemeanor charge. But no, they're going to go on this grand old, you know how the news does it, Donald Trump convicted felon, this, and that, and drag that court case on in the news for political reasons over, 2 or 3 months, which, first of all, is unconstitutional, undemocratic. You got to treat everyone fairly in a court of law, which, I mean, they kind of did. The jury ended up making their decision, but still, you have to set that precedent for everyone who comes through the door. It's not just because he's the president of the United States, and all the cameras are on him. You have to do that for the guys who are robbing convenience stores, who are robbing people at gunpoint and killing people in the street. It has to be fair throughout. And where I'm going with this is that it sets a bad precedent moving forward. If any judge or district attorney who leans Democrat could just attack Republicans in that state, no one's ever gonna be able to be run for office. And think about it if you flipped it the other way. Think about if a Democrat in Texas or Florida tries to run for office and the district attorney in that county or wherever they're at just puts like the Democrats on trial for bogus things all the time. You're just going to get in this never-ending cycle of attacking political opponents all over the country, and then we're really screwed because you don't know who's good, who's bad. Are the courts being fair? Are the courts not being fair? Did this guy actually commit this crime? And now we're in the information age, also the misinformation age, because you can't believe everything you read online. So with those Bill of Rights, That's why the Constitution is so important, is because everyone is deemed these rights: freedom of speech, freedom to a fair trial, the right to bear arms, all these things. So that's kind of what I was thinking about as you were talking there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's super important, and that's interesting. I don't really know what other amendments came after, those the founding ones. That you said 1913, it kind of switched, and they started taking rights away. You can't do this, prohibition, can't make alcohol, all this. So interesting to see how many other things came up after that that we actually like. It's like normal to us now.
Right. So that's exactly, and that's the point. Is you saw it shift from giving to taking. Because I can't remember. Because if you really think about it, when was the last time that something was passed, a bill was passed, an amendment was passed, a law was passed that was actually giving rights back to people? I mean, the only things that would have been passed to give rights back to people would have been things that were taken away in the first place, right? All it is more and more regulation, more and more laws, more and more you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, because it's more and more about power and control. And that's what happens with the government over time, is because just like anything, if you're not growing, you're dying. And what
Hmm.
happens is the government essentially becomes a business where if it's not growing and getting more power, making more money, then it's going to start dying. But that's not how you should look at a government. But this is how they're treating it, as a corporation, as an enterprise, to be able to make money, and for the people within that within that body are able to enrich themselves. So what happens is you get to the point where you just continue to have so many laws and regulations passed that eventually you can't even do anything without it being illegal, right? Americans every single day in the United States just end up doing illegal things because so many things are illegal. They have even no idea that they did something illegal, right? It's just you're just existing, and next thing you know, you got something on your record. Now it just comes down to whether or not they want to pursue you for that. If you get big enough and important enough, and they don't like you, kind of like
Oh.
Trump, then yeah, they're
Hmm.
going to do the lawfare. They're going to come after you. Oh yeah, by the way, you did this, you did that, you did this, because they make everything illegal, right?
How long
And
ago was that case in New York for Trump too? That was over 10 years ago. Statute of limitations expired on that case, and they still found a way to bring it into the courts.
mhm, yeah, it's lawfare, and that's what you start to create you start to create the distrust within the populace, and that's what's happening. People are becoming more and more
Yeah.
distrustful of the media, of the people in charge, and as you start to lose the trust in the actual entities and organizations that run the country, that's whenever you become less influential. That's whenever you start to get, bad things start to come up. People start to leave the country. People start to not believe in their country, be less patriotic. You don't want to have a country of people who aren't patriotic, right? You look at the Russians. Russians absolutely love Russia. They're over there, Mother Russia, Putin, blah blah. Now, not everybody actually agrees on the same things necessarily, but they're proud to be Russian.
Hmm.
They're proud to be a part of their country. So you think of it, what would be a better society to live within? A place where the society is degrading, people are becoming less and less respectful of the institutions and the people around them, right? And don't even like the people around them, or a society like Russia where everybody's not everybody loves each other, but everybody respects each other. Everybody knows that they're Russian. They believe in the Russian the Russian state. That's a better community to live in. That's a stronger nation because they're patriotic. They care about where they live, right?
Yeah.
And the thing to ask yourself then is, for people who watch this and the people that are inside the Taylor's Code and the people that we do business with, is when you live in a country where you can't necessarily trust the people in place, and you can't necessarily trust the systems put in place to make it a democratic state. If you can't do that, this is why it's so important to be able to make money and be able to think for yourself and to be able to do what you want to do. The problem in the United States and other countries is if you don't make money and you're stuck in a current job or situation where if you say and speak the wrong things publicly, you can lose that income. It forces you to censor yourself. And you get stuck in that country or state that you're in. If you have money, if you're rich, this is why it's so important to make money, is if you do get in a situation where you can't trust your government, or you're the type of person where your views don't align with the current state, you got to be able to uproot and go to a different place where you can survive, right? You should look at what happened to Pavel, the guy who created Telegram. He had to go to the United Arab Emirates, to Dubai, just to be able to live, because people were after him for making Telegram, and he wasn't cooperating with governments who wanted back doors to be able to spy on people on Telegram. What happened? He ends up going to France. Next thing you know, boom, 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 he's arrested. He's in jail. This is why you have to be able to move, right? But yeah, but I mean, think about that. He got arrested as soon as he went to France.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to like I'm curious as to how in 1913, like you said, I wonder how that aligns with lobbyists and how much their influence on the government started to take effect in 1913. Because you think about it, that's right around the industrial age when, you know, Ford started with the assembly line, and all these companies really started to take traction and become powerhouses and create things all over the country with steel. You know, Pittsburgh, the steel mills, and creating skyscrapers in New York, like the steel to go to New York. And I wonder how much of lobbying from these companies started to influence the government to be like, okay, well, we can't do this on this land because then we're not going to make as much money. Like we have to do it in over here, and this guy has to do, you know, can't do this because then that'll affect this. And it's like a chain reaction of like, oh, you can't do these things because it's going to like make us lose money. And of course, they're going to lobby for laws that make them make more money. You know that they do that now. So I wonder if lobbying and all that kind of started taking traction in DC in the early 1910s, because that would be very interesting to see. And another one too, I think with prohibition, I think prohibition, you know, for people who aren't American and don't know what prohibition is pretty much the government said, you know, you can't drink alcohol, can't make alcohol. And that's why you see things like moonshine. People had these speakeasies where they would, you know, it was like a secret code to get into the bar, and it was very low key because it was illegal at the time. And people would make alcohol in the woods on like these barrels and stuff like this. So if you don't know what prohibition is, look into it. It's a very fascinating American topic because it was, you know, everyone, like a lot of people drink alcohol. Almost everybody drinks alcohol now. So for that to not be legal would be like crazy to some people now, especially alcoholics. But
Right.
so
Yeah,
it's just
most
like
college students.
I don't know the exact date of when prohibition ended, but if it's around that time too, it would make a lot of sense that alcohol companies started popping up and they're like, listen, we need this, you know, this to be legal. It's a big moneymaker. Think about how much alcohol is sold each day in America, like crazy amounts between Bud Light, seltzers, wines. Like it's a major import and export. So I think honestly that's a big problem with the government is the lobbyist is that they're going to push their agendas with money, and that should not be it. It should be the will of the people. What the people want should get the vote on these things. But we really don't get that say. We only get the vote, you know, for one person. You know, you get the vote for your governor, your senator in your county, and then the president. So you really don't have that much of a say. You get to vote for a couple. I guess you get to vote for the Congress people too in your district, and then you get to vote for your senator and your governor. But it's all done like one time. I think there needs to be a way where we could vote. I mean, maybe this is the power of social media, but we need to start being able to vote on things that are actually impacting our lives. But we just get to pick
Right.
people, and sometimes they put on a good face, but then once they get in the office, you know, they turn your back on you in a second.
100, yeah, absolutely, because they're just trying to get the votes from the people. Once they get the votes and get into power, then they're going to go ahead and can't or cater to the ones that are, you know, lining their pockets, the lobbyists. So they steal the votes from the poor people, and then they do what's in the benefit of the rich people, right? So, so as you were talking and you were saying about that time period, so I just researched it right now on my phone. So Woodrow Wilson was the president in 1913. Okay, so he got elected in 1913, and he was president from 1913 through 1921. And in 1913, there was a few amendments added to the Constitution that year specifically. So this is when he was in office. And in December 23rd, 1913, the Federal Reserve System was founded. So think about
Oh, that explains a
that.
lot. That
You
explains a
see
lot.
now? So the Federal Reserve was founded in 1913 for the United States. And in 1913, the first amendment they made to the Constitution that year was to be able to tax people as much as they wanted to. Oh, isn't that
Wow.
interesting? Right. Hold on a second. So now you create the Federal Reserve to be able to get money for the government, and then you make an amendment saying you can tax people endlessly. So isn't that insane? Hold on.
Yeah, that doesn't like why would you need to tax people more if you're creating your own bank? Is it because they could keep. I mean, but the Federal Reserve doesn't keep track of our taxes now. They keep track of the Treasury bonds and interest rates and things like that. So I wonder. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so here's the 16th Amendment. So this is when I knew the entire tone of the Constitution had changed. So 16th Amendment is the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes. Wait, hold a second. We're going to give ourselves the power to go ahead and tax people on their incomes from whatever source derived. So it doesn't matter how you make your money. We're going to tax your income without. So they're going to be able to do this without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. So they're basically saying we can tax incomes no matter what. We're just going to start taxing incomes.
Well, it worked for a long time. I think from 1913 there up until probably the 1990s, or maybe even the early 2000s, things really skyrocketed for the United States. You had the industrial boom after the
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I take that back because they had the Great Depression in the 20s. Maybe that banking system kind of disrupted things with the World War II going on, and they took a little too much money out of the people's hands and gave it to the government in that time. But it ended up working out because they won the wars and got themselves out of war with Europe and Germany and stuff. But in the long run, it worked out. Like we're very prosperous now, but like at what cost of like taking, like you said, taking rights from the people? That was what the founding fathers wanted in 1776, but you took a lot of that away from the people starting in 1913.
Mm-hmm. And
And
the eight.
And one last point, quick, is that it's not easy to get an amendment passed. Not easy at all. I don't know the last time an amendment has been passed, but it's been a long time.
It was the 90s, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
over 30 years.
Yeah, it is difficult because in one of the earlier parts of the Constitution, it says to be able to make an amendment to the Constitution, you need three fourths, uh, 3/4 vote in the House and in the Senate to be able to pass an amendment.
So it's
So
got to be bipartisan. Both parties have to agree on it that it's a problem.
correct. And so the 18th Amendment, this happened in 1913 as well, right? So we talked about the income taxes that they put that on the Constitution. Now the 18th Amendment was after 1 year from ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. So
Okay.
again, the 18th Amendment is that's whenever prohibition had started. And but again, my point is that the amendment to the Constitution was to take rights away from the people. It's like all of a sudden it started turning into control, take rights away. We can do this to you. The U.S. government shouldn't be worried about, and that's why they ended up rescinding on this, right? They ended up rescinding on the
Hmm.
prohibition, but
Yeah.
they started taking away the rights from the people. That's whenever you start to have issues. It's supposed to be to protect the rights for the people, and then you allow the states to determine for themselves how they want to govern those smaller issues, right?
Well, luckily the founding fathers were smarter than the bunch there in the 1910s, but they got to I mean, the ones that are talked about the most influential, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and the law ones like we talked about, right to fair trial and
Mm-hmm.
jury of one's own peers. All that stuff has laid the framework for a lot of the legal stuff that we deal with now, which luckily is still intact for now. Um, yeah, but that's just crazy. How things could take a drastic change in just 1 year like that with a couple executive orders and amendments like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting because I mean, at the end of the day, you realize all a government is, all a nation is just people. People showing up to a room, saying things, doing things, and that's all it really is. And at some point, obviously, we saw that people started taking this a different direction. And yeah, like you said, the 1900s were a booming, booming, booming century for the United States. It became obviously the strongest superpower in the world. But like you said, you see some of these things starting to degrade, and people know it's starting to degrade. So again, that comes back to the point of, as a man, as a gentleman, as somebody that's trying to operate at the highest levels in this world, you got to understand that the more and more global that the world becomes, the more and more interconnected every single nation becomes with each other. You have to understand that the chessboard is the whole globe. It's no longer just the United States. What you can do in the U.S., you're stuck to this territory, you're stuck to this state. I just have to figure it out in this one little area. No, you have the whole world at scale that you need to operate on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to start to say, as a man, if I'm living in a country, and it doesn't have to be the United States, obviously, we have people inside the Taylor's Code who are in Yemen, who are in India, who are in all over the world. You have to start to look at the chessboard and decide for yourself, where can I operate at the highest level for what I want to accomplish, for what I want to achieve? What are the things that I believe in? What is the religion that I want to practice? How much money do I want to make? Where does my industry operate with the most freedom? And then you need to actually go put yourself in a position to be in that state, to be in that country. So I tell this to people all the time now is, long term, I'm not going to be in the United States. I don't plan on staying in the U.S. Why? Well, because a lot of the things that are happening right now are going in a direction that I don't agree with, nor do I feel comfortable or safe being around, because I disagree with these things. So I need to put myself in a position where I can operate with the most freedom, with the best opportunity to be able to make money. And that's going to be at some point outside of the United States. So I'm looking at places like, do I go to Eastern Europe? Do I go to Dubai? Right? Dubai was one I'm thinking about a lot too, because Dubai, at least for what I do and for what I want to do, is probably the freest place out there for me. But for somebody who wants to do drugs and smoke weed and do coke and stuff like that, Dubai is not the spot for you, because they'll put you in jail instantly. But for somebody like me that doesn't do anything like that and doesn't drink alcohol, Dubai is fantastic, right? It's just, for every person, it depends on what you want to do, what country's actually free for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're hinting at the fact of zero tax in Dubai on businesses and things
Yep.
like that. I had this thought. Oh, what I was gonna say is, people are worried, like, Kamala Harris gets in the office. She's very radical left and wants to push all these crazy agendas and ideologies into government. But my argument is she hasn't passed anything in 4 years. Her policy record is awful. She didn't pass anything when she was a senator in California, and you see how California has turned out. And you think she would have, passed something for the better? Nothing valuable. As a president, hasn't really passed anything too great. I know they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which was good, but from a policy standpoint of all these things she's talking about doing and wants to do, like, she hasn't done any of it over 4 years. So what makes you think she's going to do it over the next 4 years? She's not. It's not going to happen.
And how about the unrealized gains tax? I saw that. Yeah, is that
That's
real?
bananas.
I can't imagine she's going to do that.
I don't even know how you would do that. How do you tax people on gains that they don't even have yet? Like, because it could
Right.
fluctuate, especially if you have stocks and crypto. It changes every minute. How do you even do that?
Correct. How would you do that? Yeah, maybe they would do it from beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Yeah,
What
to
was the
December
net
31st.
difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is what, so people understand, again, because it's all about, at the end of the day, right? If you're trying to put yourself in a position to have freedom, you got to be able to make money. If you're the guy who started from nothing, who has no money, you got to figure out how you can make money and do it the most effective way possible. You're going to drive people out of the country if you start taxing them on unrealized gains. And who's that actually going to hurt? If you tax people on unrealized gains, you're going to hurt people, normal people, again, middle class, lower class people. Why? Because if they did somehow actually buy a house, right, and put themselves in a 30, 40-year mortgage, that unrealized gain that they have from their house, they're going to have to pay taxes on. They don't have money in anyways. The only thing that they actually have that's worth anything is their home, and they don't even own it yet. And then you're going to tax them on the unrealized gains of their home, because the home value actually went up, and you're going to tax them on that difference. It doesn't make any sense. Again, this is why I'm saying, a guy like me, a guy like you, I'm making money. I don't want to continue to get taxed into oblivion by the United States. I'm going to get out of the country. You want to tax me on unrealized gains? I have so much money in crypto, in stocks, in investments. I don't even get the benefit from the money I've made on the crypto, and then you want to tax me on that unrealized gain? You're out of your fucking mind. You're making me pay taxes on money that I never even made in the first place, right? Bananas.
It's
And so
bananas.
my grandfather, I was talking to my father about this. My grandfather's from Italy, and he immigrated to the United States in the 1960s. And my grandfather used to mention this, and I've come to the same realization as well. In the early 1700s, you had the Boston Tea Party, right? So Americans lost their fucking minds whenever the British started trying to tax them on tea, right? Think about this. I believe it was like 1 or 2% tax on tea. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless, it was a very small tax. Because the British imposed this tax, the Americans in Boston lost their fucking minds and started revolting, okay? Rebelling. In today's United States, you'll get taxed 40, 50% on your income, and people are like, yeah, we need higher taxes. Are you out of your fucking mind? My grandfather said it. So he goes, the Americans don't have that spirit anymore. Nobody has the spirit in this country to revolt, to fight back, to say that this is wrong, that this is bad. Here in the US, bro, you'll go to work, people pay their taxes, people lose half of it to the government, they pay half to the school, they pay half to the state. California is absolutely decimating people with tax, and nobody does anything about it. It's normal. Getting 50% of your income taxed is fucking insane.
I don't understand it either, because California is like one of the greatest things this country has. You go to California, you got Beverly Hills, mega mansions. Like, I don't understand how these people afford it. If you look at some of the home prices in Los Angeles County, you get a shithole for like $1 million. You got to pay county tax on the property, tax. You got the sales tax on the property, and then you got to pay county tax every year on that. How do these people afford it? Especially the mega mansions in the hills that are worth 20, 30, 40, like $50 million. And then they have the highest income tax rates after, you get. So I don't understand how these people afford it. It just doesn't even make sense to me how these people could afford to live in California, live in these mega mansions like that. Granted, they probably make a lot of money, they've earned it, but still, like, it doesn't make sense to me. That money that you're paying in California translated to another state like Texas, you would live in even bigger houses. Like, you could live like a king in Texas. So I don't understand why the Californians are putting up with it. I don't know if it's because they're too high all day or they just don't care. Like, I don't understand.
It's because the testosterone level. I mean, half of the people in California are gay, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But the testosterone levels are dropping so much people don't even have any will to fight. The men don't even care. It's just, for me, just personally, I think about this and I say, how could somebody be okay with getting taxed 50% of their income? How do you just live that way? What is it that the governments have been able to convince people that that's fine? And it's just that erosion of rights and that erosion of freedoms over time. So what happens is you give an inch, they take a mile, right? And this is why it's so important as a man to be so entrenched in your morals and your ideologies, not in a way where it's going to negatively impact other people, but in a way where you're not going to stand for anything but what you believe in, right? This is why religion needs to be a part of a society regardless of what you practice, because religion teaches you to have boundaries, morals, and beliefs that it's black and white. This is right, this is wrong. You do this, you're good. You do this, you're wrong. And you stick to those lines. You don't bend those lines. You don't say, well, maybe because no. God gave you this outline of how you should operate as a human being. You operate this way. If you don't, you're sinning, right? If men still thought like that, if people still thought like that, then they would actually stick up for themselves and not allow these things to happen. But what happens is men become weaker. They train you to think, oh no, this is okay. We're just going to take a little bit. We're just going to take a little bit. We're just going to take a little bit. Over 100 years, next year, you're paying taxes of 50% of your income, which again is insane. The Boston Tea Party happened over a 1-2% tea tax. They're taxing 50% of your income. 50% of the time that you're at work, you're working for the government. And then you think, well, where the fuck is all the tax money going? Because the U.S. is in $33 trillion, $35 trillion in debt.
It's going to Ukraine.
In debt. Yeah, it's going to Ukraine, funding the war over there. They're paying. It's insane.
The thing with the Boston Tea Party too, and I think this is like a fascinating time in American history. I actually watched a lengthy video on like the whole the Revolutionary War. The thing was with the Tea Party that really set them off was it was no taxation without representation. So the Americans in the colonies, 13 colonies at that time, felt like they were paying taxes on things that the Great British government, like, so they were paying taxes to the Great British government when they're like, you guys are like 1,500 miles away. You guys don't even live here. Like, this is like, why are you taxing us on this stuff? And that's when they were ultimately like, all right, fuck this. We're not dealing with this anymore. Like, get the tea. Like, we're not going to drink the tea. Throw it overboard. It's gone. We don't want it. We're not going to buy it. So take your tax. And then they went back to the king of England at the time. And they're like, sir, they overthrew it. He's like, all right, send the troops in. And then that's when things got heated. So if you think about history and history repeats itself, if people start to stick up and be like, no, we don't want to pay taxes on this, and that, you think the American government is just going to be like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You guys don't have to pay. No, they're gonna get fired up and they're gonna be like, no, pay your taxes, and be a little more forceful with it. So we need to put the right people in place, like Donald Trump, who put the tax credits in when he was in office in 2020, which are actually set to expire, I think, the end of this year or the beginning of next year, which is huge, huge. He wants to cut down the tax rates even more, which I think is great. You know, businesses thrive when they could keep their profits. No business ever went out of business from making too much profit. When you got to dish out taxes and you got to thin your margins with pay and thin your margins with what you buy, cost of goods sold, you're crippling businesses. You need to let them open up the balance sheet and give more to their, funnel it down to the employees. The guy that works at 7-Eleven, you know, like, he needs to make more money because things are expensive. And people that work these low paying jobs could actually breathe a little bit when you take that tax away from the companies and let them open up their assets and what they pay their employees. So yeah, it's super tricky.
True. And it's true because us as business owners, myself as a business owner, that's so true because the more money that I make, the more that I actually want to pay out and go ahead and develop my business, right?
Yeah.
The more money that I'm making, the more I want to pay editors, the more that I want to pay guys who are making shorts for YouTube, the more I want to pay people in the Taylor's Code, the more I want to pay. The more money that I make, the more ways I'm looking to be able to reinvest this money to be able to increase my income. A good business owner is going to do that. You want more money in their pockets so that they can continue to pay out and put money into the economy. Now, excuse me. And now, are they going to go ahead and try to pocket a little bit more cash, a little bit more profit themselves as well? Yeah, 100%. That's the point of a business. That's the whole fucking point. But anyways, so this is the main overall point of all this kind of stuff is you got to understand what's going on in your country and in your nation. And when you actually sit down and understand how the money's moving, how the policies are being made, how these things are affecting you, now you can start to devise a plan on how you're going to go ahead and get around this or game the system to the best of your ability. Because the people who have money, the people who are rich, the reason they don't care so much about these taxation laws and these things is because they know how to get around it. They got the accountants that are going to show them how to do the loopholes, get around these tax cuts, get around these tax increases, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to benefit from it regardless. They know how to game the system. It's a common person who doesn't educate or equip themselves with that knowledge that's going to get decimated because, you know, and it's just because he's being a good man, a good father, taking care of his family, taking care of his kids. He's just like, all right, this is the taxes. I hate it. This sucks. I'm just going to pay it. I don't know what else to do. I don't have accountants. I don't have money for a legal team to defend myself and to find all these taxes. I don't have those resources. So that's why you as a man have to put yourself in a position where you can take advantage of the system or the game. Okay, like that's the way that I look at it. Is if this is the game, I'm not going to bother myself trying to change the rules. I'm not going to get upset and cry and whine about it. I'm going to say, all right, this is the game. Fine, I'm competitive. I'll beat you at the fucking game. I'll work a little bit harder than you. I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to win. And then if I need to change the playing field and I need to get out of the US and go to a place where it's more advantageous for me to operate, then I'm going to do that. But because I'm playing the game, I'm trying to win the game. I'm not looking at this just to, you know, get oppressed. I'm not going to be oppressed. I'm just going to do what I got to do.
That's the thing. People don't care to be like, if they're oppressed, they'll go work their job, pay their taxes, and then, you know, whatever left money they have over, it's like, I'll go to the movies, I'll do this and that. But realistically, it's becoming crunch time. You can feel it. There's tension all around the world, and there's going to be an angry old man out there somewhere. It's history repeats itself. There's always that one angry old man that just decides to go off and do something stupid. So it's only a matter of time. I wanted to go back to the business quick, because when you open up the balance sheet and you spend more money, you reinvest in different things. You get to reinvest, like you said, you want to pay more people, you want to pay, for more things, and it allows you to be more creative in how you spend your money. And that's super important for growth of any business, and that's how new ideas come around. You invest in research and you learn new things. So if you make it so expensive that companies can't even hire people in the country anymore and they offshore it to people in India, to people in Mexico, and all this stuff, you're hurting your own country. You're hurting the low income guys who construction workers who want to go build houses. Like, okay, well, you're too expensive. We gotta hire, some illegal aliens that, will work for cheaper. It's a chain reaction, and I hope that the government sees this. I know there's a lot of smart people in the government, so I still have a little bit of faith in, in what they're doing. So they got to start thinking about this stuff.
That's an incredibly important point that you made because it's true. Again, something else that I deal with in business because I own a company. It's when I want to have things done, what do we do? On Upwork, we have a guy
Hmm.
from Indonesia working on our YouTube channels who works for how much? $5
Five
an
bucks
hour.
an hour.
$5 an hour. Why do we do that? Because outsourcing your work to these other countries where the US dollar is more powerful, or they're obviously just willing to work for less, makes sense as a business owner because you're like, well, if he's willing to do it for $5 an hour and this person's going to charge me $50 an hour, I'm going to have the guy who's doing it for $5 an hour do this.
Hmm.
And that's why they're leaving the borders open because in the US, it's become so expensive to hire people and pay people to do things. These massive corporations and business owners and they're saying, well, we just open the border and we allow a lot of illegal aliens to hop through that are willing to do that same work for pennies on the dollar. We're going to hire them to do it. So it allows them to have a labor force that's a lot cheaper, doesn't want the same rights, doesn't want the same protections, doesn't want the same health insurance benefits, the same life insurance benefits, all these things that come with an American and what they're going to want with their job. They're saying, well, yeah, it's just cheaper. I'm going to do this. So that's what they do is they make it so expensive to do business in the United States that you can't even be competitive with other companies in other countries
Hmm.
that we have to go outsource our call centers. We have to go outsource our work to other countries because it's the only thing that's going to keep businesses profitable. So then
Yeah.
you say, well, now Americans are getting destroyed by this because they don't get those jobs. They don't have those low paying jobs because now if you don't have a college degree, it's like you can't even get a job that's going to pay you enough to put food on the table.
There's so many jobs out there too, like maybe not in America, but around the world that people could do without a college degree, even, with just a high school degree. Think of like the manufacturing jobs, making shirts, making clothes, making shoes, making everything around us, making like ceramic cups. Like all this stuff is done in other countries. We don't do it here in America anymore because I don't know why, because they just think everyone thinks they're too smart to do manual labor jobs. But think about it, even the computers we're on right now, they're probably put together in China somewhere, snapped together in a factory. We need to start bringing manufacturing back to the United States and have actually start creating stuff here. And Trump started to kind of do that with cars. He brought them back from China. I think they actually went to Mexico for a little bit, and then Mexico. I think Ford and stuff. General Motors kind of makes cars here and in Mexico now, which is good, which is better. We want to start making stuff here, and we have so much land. We could build factories and we could build all this great stuff. I just don't know why we don't do it. Well, actually, I do know why, because they make it so unfavorable for businesses to be here, like we talked about. So that's the problem. You're going to send businesses other places. So it's a
Right.
cat and a dog chasing each other. It's like, where are you gonna go?
Right. Right. Because the mentality for some people is they want to punish the successful people within our own country, not knowing that inadvertently by punishing the people in your own country, you're actually benefiting the people in other countries because
Hmm.
those other businesses who can create that same exact product for pennies on the dollar are going to be able to send that to the US and sell it at a more competitive price. That's why all these things get sent to the other countries. So it's terrible. It sucks because audio isn't available. Well, you gotta turn on the. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, yeah, you gotta turn on your sound booth, Nesh. He put on the chat on YouTube. He said audio isn't available. So no, I think you gotta turn on your speakers. But Nesh is the man, by the way. Um, So yeah, no. What was the point I was making? Right. Yeah. You want to. Why do you want to punish the people within your own nation? This is the feeling that you start to get from elites and the ruling class in certain countries. Is it's gotten to the point where they have more contempt for the people that they're ruling over than they do for the people of the same ruling class in other nations. Right? They have more in common with the people that rule other nations, and they hang out with those people more and identify with those people more than they do with the own people in their own nation. So it's no longer, the United States, which is supposed to be for the people, by the people, right? It's now a ruling class that are just controlling the people within that nation. That's not how the U.S. was supposed to be set up. The U.S. was supposed to be set up democracy. The definition of it is by the people, like ran by the people. It's
Hmm.
for the people. The people are electing people to represent themselves in the government who are going to do what's in the best interest of the people. That is no longer the case, and I don't think anybody would argue that. And anybody that would be willing to say that that's not true is absolutely outside of audio not available for Bobby, I think.
Oh, they
Oh
can't
my
hear me on your
goodness.
side?
Looks like it. Yeah. Firework Nut, which is, I know who that is. Firework Nuts, Logan Bauer. Audio not available for Bobby, I think. Interesting. See, it's another Matrix attack. As soon as we start talking about real shit, next you know what it is. Comrade Kamala, right? She called in the she called in the CIA, started taking the audio away. I can hear you fine though.
Yeah, I can hear you fine too. I don't know why it always does this to me. And when
Interesting.
we recorded it last night, it was let's see.
I got the I got Logan Bauer from the CIA said that the audio is not available for you.
Let's see what's going on here.
Hmm.
Let's see. I got it here.
She called in the
Oh, I got your
CIA,
sound on my stream.
Hmm.
We get one stream's audio to work, and then the other stream's audio goes.
I'm gonna have to call Kamala and let her know that we need to be able to give the people the juice. I'll call Trumpino. I'll call
Yeah,
Trumpino. Said we need some
he'll handle
backup.
it.
Well, anyways, if it wasn't for Comrade Kamala, we would have had one of the most fantastic streams of all time. But anyways, whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good place to start wrapping it up. Do you have any other things that you want to talk about real quick, or any sell or buy? Bah, bah, bah?
Yeah, we could do a quick buy or sell. I think I'm gonna sell this week. I'm selling shitty food. I'm sick of this. I'll say, wait, what's the company? Peppermill Farms, company that makes all those cereals and makes all that stuff. We talked about this in the past, but I had some of their stuff over the weekend just because I was at a resort and it was kind of eating worse than I usually do. And I felt so bad. Like I just felt fatter, felt like it just hit me instantly. It literally hit me instantly that like I felt the rolls on the stomach getting bigger. I was like, damn. So we've talked about it before, but again, to double down on it, selling that kind of food, man, it's so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck the processed foods. I try not to eat as much as humanly possible, especially now. It it's so unfortunate how rigged the system is against the people. But this is why you have to educate yourself, and people have to understand what they're putting into their bodies, what's happening in their nation, what are they
Yeah.
actually eating, because these things affect you. If you're a Ferrari, you need that premium gas. I need that 95, 96% or
Mm-hmm.
96 premium, ultra premium fuel.
The
I don't
premium
need
octane.
I don't need that 87 going into my system if I feel like I'm going to operate as a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, right? So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on that. What am I buying or selling this week? I'm going to buy the U.S. Constitution because the Constitution is absolutely fire. Everything up
Great buy.
until the 16th Amendment, huge buyer of that buyer. Anything after the 16th Amendment, a little bit fugaz, a little bit fake. I don't know. So buy the Constitution. Um, and then what would be the last point I'm going to make to the people on the stream? Last point I'm going to make is you got to put money aside. Okay, make money, put money aside. Make money, put money aside. You got to be able to put yourself in a position where you have leverage to make decisions that you want to make. If you've never saved up a single dollar, you can't quit your job. If you can't quit your job, you can't say what you want to say. If you can't say what you want to say and you can't quit your job and you can't lose your income, then you can't move to a different country. If your current nation is oppressing you in any way at all, right? You have to put yourself in positions where you have leverage to operate as a man. Okay. If you can't say what you want to say, if you can't move where you want to move, if you can't do what you want to do, are you actually free? No, you're not. So to put yourself in a position where you can actually do those things, you need money. That's the end all be all. If you don't have money, you need money. Okay. That's how you start getting your freedom back. It's not about making the money itself. It's about the freedom that's going to come by having the money. Right. So you need to put yourself in positions to make money. This is the whole reason for the Taylor's Code. It's the whole reason for the network that we have. You need to be able to make money and make money with the people and the brothers around you. If you have a network and the people around you that are making money, then you can actually start to have the freedoms that you're looking for. But if you never have brotherhood, you never actually develop those relationships, you never have that network, you're never going to free yourself because the people around you can't help, because obviously if they could, then you have money. So take that very seriously. Everything we talk about are things that will only affect the common man. If you're rich enough, these things won't affect you. And then once you're rich enough, then obviously you got to do the job of helping the common man around you and start to uplift those people.
Preach.
But outside of that,
I think that's a great spot to end it for the week.
beautiful. Oh, man. All right, Bobby. Good seeing you, player.
Good to see you.
Hop
If you made
outta
it this
here.
far, like, subscribe. We'll be live next Thursday.
Yes. I meant to mention that. We gotta tell people to like. All right, cool. See you, Bobby.
All right, see you.